a dead person. I prefer to die than to live like this. No life in me. The pain is so much.
Elozino Ogege was a 300-level mass communication student at Delta State University, Abraka, in Nigeria. She was 22 years old and was known as a brilliant student, one who was even on track to graduate with a first-class degree. Like many students living far from home, Elozino needed a place to stay closer to school, so she began searching for an apartment within the university's lodging facility. One of the security guards, identified as Unos, walking around the school premises, reached out to her about an apartment that was available. To Elozino, this seemed like a normal harmless conversation, the kind students have all the time with agents when searching for accommodation. She had no way of knowing that this simple phone call would be the last normal conversation of her life. The guard told her to come back the following day to sort out the apartment. Elozino agreed, unaware that this appointment had already been arranged for a purpose far more darker than renting a room. When the day came, she went to meet him, and that was the very last time anyone on campus ever saw her alive. Days passed and Elozino did not return, did not call, and did not reach out to anyone, which was very unlike her. Worried, her mother reported her missing to the police, but just when everyone feared the worst, something strange happened. Contact was suddenly established with Elozino's family by people claiming to have her. This made the police and everyone following the case believe it was a straightforward kidnapping, one where money would eventually be demanded in exchange for her release. Nobody at that point imagined the horror that had already taken place. While the police pushed forward with the case as a kidnapping, they turned to modern technology for answers. Officers began tracking Elozino's missing mobile phone using a tracking device. The signal eventually led them straight to one of the security guards working at the university, a man who had been in contact with Elozino just before she vanished. This man was Unos. When the guard was picked up by the police, he denied knowing anything about her disappearance, claiming he had simply bought the phone from someone else. But the police were not convinced. They pressed further, determined to find the person who allegedly sold him the phone. This search led them to a second suspect, a man already known within certain circles as a Yahoo boy, a term used locally for internet fraudsters. Just like the security guard, this second suspect also denied any involvement at first. But the police already understood something important about criminals like this. Hardened suspects rarely confess easily. It usually takes firm evidence and pressure before the truth comes out. Eventually, the case was transferred to the anti-kidnapping unit, and once the two suspects arrived in Asaba, the state capital, the walls around their denial finally began to crack. One after another, they started confessing, and what they revealed shocked everyone involved, including the police officers who had seen many terrible cases before. The suspects confessed that they had used the body parts of their victims for money rituals, taking them to a man widely known as a herbalist. Following this new lead, detectives moved to track down the 62-year-old man who lived in Warri. When approached, the herbalist also denied ever knowing the suspects. So, detectives changed their approach. They quietly watched his home for days, observing the flow of people coming in and out, acting like potential customers themselves, until they were certain he would not slip away. Eventually, the herbalist admitted that the men had on one occasion brought what looked like human body parts to him, which he claimed he destroyed out of fear. But the police soon discovered that these men were not acting entirely on their own. There was someone above them, a mastermind pulling the strings from a distance. This mastermind was a man believed to be based in Ghana, where he was said to run internet fraud operations. He was known by the name Kelvin. According to the suspects, Kelvin owned 2 buildings in the town of Abraka, and he was the one directing much of the operation from behind the scenes. He had promised to pay the security guard 10,000 naira if he brought him a victim for the ritual. Police officers moved quickly to arrest Kelvin, knowing that catching him could unravel the entire case. But timing worked against them in a very shocking way. As officers closed in and confronted him with what they already knew, Kelvin suddenly slumped right there in front of them and died shortly after. The very man believed to be at the center of the entire scheme was gone before he could ever stand trial. With Kelvin dead, all attention turned to the confessions given by the security guard. the man whose actions had set the entire tragedy into motion. He admitted to the police that he had been intentionally placed at the university by his supervisor for one specific reason, which was to help identify and arrange the abduction of female students on behalf of the Yahoo boys. This was, according to him, the real reason he had been working there all along. He then confessed exactly how he lured Elozino into the trap. When Elozino approached him looking for an apartment, he saw it as the perfect opportunity to fulfill the task he had been given. He contacted one of the fraudsters, who told him to arrange for her to return the next day. When Elozino came back as planned, a car was waiting. The guard and the men with him used a substance on her face that made her lose consciousness almost immediately. From there, they took her deep into a nearby bush, far from anyone who could help her. What they did to her was something that left even experienced police officers feeling very horrified. While she was still alive, they began removing parts of her body for the rituals they had planned, ignoring her cries and her desperate pleas for them to stop and let her go. By the time they were finished, Elozino was dead. After the killing, the gang still needed to keep up appearances, so they used a young girl, believed to be the mastermind's own younger sister, to speak on the phone with Elozino's worried parents, likely to reassure them that everything was fine and that a ransom demand was coming. This is exactly why the case had first looked like a kidnapping to everyone on the outside.
The native doctor, he said that we should bring person to him so that he will use it to do something for us as a Yahoo. So we catch up this guy through the school. Then we collected some part.
With the confessions now on record, detectives asked the suspects to lead them to the place where Elozino's body had been left. The men guided officers to a hidden overgrown spot on the outskirts of Abraka, marked by a tree, tucked away inside a farm where no one would think to look. When her remains were finally recovered, it became painfully clear to investigators that this had not been a quick one-time act, but something drawn out and calculated. Her eyes, her tongue, her breast and her heart were all missing from her body. News of Elozino's murder spread across the state and beyond, sparking outrage among students, human rights groups and residents who demanded that justice be served without delay. Her body was eventually released to her family, and she was laid to rest in her hometown, with mourners dressed in white gathering to say their final goodbye to a young woman many described as full of potential. As the case moved into the courts, 4 men were formally charged in connection with Elozino's kidnapping and murder, though one of them, the alleged mastermind, had already died before the case could even begin. The remaining suspects, including the security guard, the fraudster and the herbalist, pleaded not guilty to every charge brought against them. The trial dragged on for years, facing one delay after another. At one point, when the accused were brought before the court, the herbalist could not even walk down from the vehicle that transported him from custody. He appeared to be suffering from a stroke and had to be carried into the courtroom by prison officials and given a chair to sit through the proceedings. Whether his illness was genuine or simply a tactic to delay the trial and gain sympathy from the court became a matter of public debate, but the case moved forward regardless. Human rights groups following the case were not silent either. They warned that if justice was not delivered without compromise, they would push for the removal of the officials in charge of the state's police command. Meanwhile, the university itself took drastic steps to protect its students. The school management banned expensive cars with tinted windows, often linked to internet fraudsters, from entering the campus. They also placed a curfew on non-students and restricted students to their hostels after certain hours at night, all in an effort to prevent another tragedy like this one from happening again. Even the court proceedings themselves were repeatedly stalled, sometimes because defense lawyers failed to show up, forcing frustrated judges to adjourn hearings again and again. Years after the murder first shocked the nation, the case remained one of the most closely watched criminal trials in the state, with the public still waiting for a final judgment and the closure that Elozino's grieving family had long been demanding. Witnesses were called, evidence was presented, and Elozino's own brother stood before the court to testify, even tendering her recovered mobile phone as evidence. the very phone that had first led police to her killers. Through all this, Elozino's mother searched through hearing after hearing, weeping for the daughter she had lost, refusing to be consoled, and demanding again and again that justice finally be done. The court eventually fixed July 29, 2026 as the date judgment would finally be delivered in the case. What began as an innocent search for a place to live turned into one of the most disturbing ritual killing cases the state had ever seen. What are your thoughts on this case? Share your opinions in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories.